Hello, my name is Jon Witt, and this is a request that I was given. So someone had requested about a post-stretching routine for tennis. So what I'll give you is a base level stretching routine that starts on our feet, then gets into some lunging, and then we will be doing some things on the floor. So there's many ways to do this. I'll give you something that's quick and effective. But then if it was something that you wanted to develop in greater depth or range, it would probably be a little bit differently. But this will help with your recovery, definitely help you in playing tennis the next day or possibly, later in the week. So what you're going to do is you're going to start with your feet out into a wide distance. So again, this is after you've been playing for a while, so maybe you're not doing it as deep as I am. I'm just going to turn my feet out, I'm going to bend my knees, and I'm going to take my arms up to the side. I'm going to turn my thumbs up, and I'm going to rotate my thumbs down so my shoulders are rotating in. And then I'm going to rotate the shoulders out. And then just come up a little bit higher. Don't sit as low as you can. And when it's relaxed, then it's always a little bit easier to sit a little bit lower if that's something that you're working towards or wanting to produce, right? And then I'm going to come up, and then I'll just relax the arms and the shoulders. I'm going to go back into that. I'm going to bend the knees, take the arms up to the side. My thumbs are turned up. I'm rotating out. I'm in a posterior tilt, so the tailbone's moving down and the pubic bone's moving up. And then this just emphasizes more stretch into the glutes and into the hamstrings. And then you can bring yourself back up and you can bring the arms down. So just bring the feet back in. I'm not going to do a lot of this, but it'll help with stretching out more. Strengthening the hamstrings will help stretch them out. So I'm going to take my left foot up off the floor. I'm balancing on my right foot. You could use a wall or a chair. But if I'm not holding the foot, I'm trying to bring the leg up into the hand. So if it's easy for you, you can see that I'm making a fist. So I'm bringing it up. And then let's say it's cramping. It's a sign of weakness or dehydration, right? But I'm going to take the leg up, trying to lift it again, and then bringing it down. And then one more time, I'm going to take it up. And again, if it was just really tight quads, this is good to do too. This is a great thing to do, stretch out the quadriceps. If you had more of a net game, right, running in and out, your legs are probably tight from that. So you could hold the foot, and then I'll bring the left foot down. I'm going to take just so you can see I'm turning, I'm taking my right foot up. Again, if you needed to hold it or place it on a chair, you could do that. I'm bringing it down. I'm taking it up. I'm not really concerned with touching the foot, it's just a target. And then I'm bringing it down. And then one more time, I'm going to take it up. And again, as it gets easier, make the target further away to help with the curling of the leg, which will strengthen the hamstring. And again, if you wanted to hold the foot at the very end, you could hold it to stretch out the quadricep. You just obviously want to be careful with your knee. And then bringing your right foot down. And what I'll do is I'll do some staggered stances for the hamstrings. So I'm going to set my left foot back about 3 feet. My hands are on my hips. I'm in an anterior tilt of my pelvis, and I'm coming forward. And as I come forward, what you want to find is the line that you're tight in. So you could certainly go further and down, but that might not necessarily give you the results that you want in exposing the hamstring. Now you could come up, which is what's used in yoga, right? Just static holds. But the coming forward and the coming down, that's when you're going to feel the greatest stretch in the leg. So it's this type of stretching, it's more ballistic stretching, especially for an athlete, can be better. You could bring yourself up. If you were going for deep relaxation, that was your thing, well, then you would hold it. More like what we in yoga we call it yin yoga, right? But I'm forward, I'm driving my right foot to the floor to expose more of the hamstring. And for you, if you have tight hamstrings, your knee would probably be bent a little bit. And then you can bring yourself up. I'm going to step the left foot forward and then step the right foot back. And with these closed hip positions, you're hugging the feet in. So it's like I'm trying to squeeze my legs to the middle. So when I come forward, again, I'm finding that stretch in my leg. For me, this is a good angle. If the lower you get, the benefit is it's more of a stretch in the anterior of the hip. So that can be good. And then you're coming up. And then you're coming forward. Like I said, say you're like, oh, I just want to hold this statically. You could do that. But like I said, when you go into it, you'll really feel like a much greater stretch in the leg. And then coming up. And then last time I'm coming forward. And especially if you have a history of back pain, especially like lower back, often it's keeping your back extended is better. Not always, but most cases it is. And then bringing yourself back up, and then you can step the right foot forward. And then I'm at the top of the mat. I'm going to do some lunging, stretch out the legs, then I'll, again, take it to the floor. So you can fold forward into a forward fold and touch the floor. I'm going to set my left foot back into a lunge. And then I'm trying to get my armpit, my knee together. And with these, try to think that the leg is lifting into the chest. And then just for a moment, I'm going to bring the knee down. And I'm going to lean into my left side, right? And this is more for hip flexor and psoas. And then I'm going to tuck the toes and lift the back knee up, just for a moment. And then I'm going to bring the back knee down. Now, if I'm below, it's all posterior, right? Back and shoulders and hips. And this is good, right? But for some people, it might actually be better of a stretch to come up. This is more for extension. You'll definitely feel it more in hip flexors and psoas, right, through here. So I'm going to take the back, my hips back in space to stretch out the hamstrings. So I'm moving my hips back in space, and then I'm moving my foot, right, to kind of adjust the hamstring. So I can point it forward, I can flex it back. Right, for you, you may actually need like chairs, right, or like a wall. And then I'm going to come forward like I did in the pyramid. And even though getting lower appears to be a bigger stretch, it might be better to be upright, just to stretch out the hamstring, like if you put your leg on a countertop, that type of stretch. And then what I'll do is I'll take my back knee up off the floor. Just to stretch, I'm going to take the right arm up to the ceiling. So the right arm is high, and then I'm going to take the arm forward. I'm looking to the hand. You can take the right arm up, and then bring the right hand down, and then step the left foot forward and separate the feet just a little bit wider than the shoulders. If you have a good squat, you can squat low just to stretch out more of the hips. If I turn the feet out, it's more inner thigh and adductor. If I have the feet more forward, it's more calf muscle and more into the quadricep. So fold into a forward fold, and then step the right foot back into a lunge. So with the right foot back, I'm connecting the armpit and the knee together. Right? As I'm in this position, I'm going to bring the back knee down and just get lower into my lunge, just to stretch out my back. And then I'm going to take the back knee up. So when you're loaded, it's kind of like what we did in the upright position. It's more dynamic stretching. It's not relaxed stretching, it's active stretching. So then I'm going to come down, and now if I'm down and I'm low, like I said, it's all shoulders and back and hips. But just test what you need. So if I come up in space, it might be like, I was shy. On days that I felt good, I would do what's more difficult, like and demanding. And then on days that I didn't really feel my best, I would make it more easy and more, more kind of maintenance. So I can lift up in space. I'm going to bring the hands down. I'm going to take the back knee up off the floor, and then I'm going to take the left arm up to the ceiling. So the left arm is high and the right hand is low. I can take it forward in space, and then bringing the left arm up, and then bringing the left hand down, and then stepping the right foot forward. So have your feet together and cross your left foot over your right. So just a basic jogger stretch, right? But this is always very good because it's all one side specific. So it's really my right side that I'm exposing more, right? There's in, like more dynamic stretching, it's almost like you're bouncing, but that's really not for everybody. But there's a myth behind it where people say it's dangerous. It can certainly be very useful. It depends on the person, right? So I'm going to bring the weight forward. I'm going to bring my left foot next to my right, and then I'm going to step my right foot next to my left. And then I'm
forward and I'm down. Like in martial arts, there's a lot of balancing to stretch out, which, like I said, can be very helpful, useful. It's just you're injured or you're prone to injury, right? Then that's probably not the best approach. I'm not doing that, but you could certainly add a little bit of bouncing motion that could help with the hamstrings. And then I'm going to have my feet apart again. I'm going to come back into a squat. As I come into a squat, I'm going to be sitting down. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to just have my feet a little bit wider than my shoulders. And I'm going to take the knees over to the right side. So this is internal rotation. So just see in sitting upright, if it's very difficult for you, this could be useful in getting the thigh to rotate in. And, because you're an athlete, the outside of your hip is probably very tight because you're running so much, which is just a byproduct of training. What I'm going to do, I don't need a block, but I'm going to use a block and I'm going to come forward. And by using a block, you're not going to come as far forward, but it's a little bit more specific in adjusting the hip. So if I'm using my hands, I can certainly go further forward and down, but you're probably not stretching as much. Right? So I'm going to come up, kind of like what I did in the upright position, is I'm going to come forward again. When I'm in these positions like this, I'm trying to lift my right leg into my chest, and that's what's helping to stretch up my hip more. And then coming up, and I'm going to take the knees up, and I'm going to take the knees over to the left side as my knees are to the left. Again, just kind of see if it's, because the hips can get really wonky. And getting good internal rotation, which is usually that as we age, that's where people really become deficient in, is internal rotation, not just external rotation. So again, you could stay up, but I'm going to come forward. I'm going to bring myself forward towards my left leg and adjusting my hip, and then bringing myself up, and then coming forward, coming down, bringing myself up. And then one last time I'm going to come forward. And when I come forward, I'm, again, trying to lift my front leg into my chest. It'll never come off the floor, but if you're actively lifting it up, it makes a difference. It'll get you more forward of your leg. And then I'm going to take my knees up, and what I'll do is I'll have just one last stretch for you guys, is I'm going to have my left leg forward. I'm going to take my right leg over my left, and then I'm going to come forward, and then as I come forward, I'm going to reach the foot and just to stretch it out. But you could hold on to something, a strap or a towel, and like I said, like some people, they're here, and I'm not making fun of anybody, but they're here, so it would be good to get some extra weight. So that could be something like a lightweight, like a 5-pound weight, 10-pound weight to start with, to get you more forward and down. And then you could come up. I wouldn't do a whole lot of that, maybe 5-10 reps, and maybe 3 sets, something. Right? I'm going to come up and then take the right leg forward, and then the left leg over the right. And then I'm going to come forward, right, in an anterior tilt to the pelvis, stretching the leg out. What can be useful is pushing the leg down to the floor, but also thinking of lifting it up. So if you want to try pressing the leg down, you can see the benefits, but then you can also think of lifting it up, and that can be useful. So just to counter these, have the knees bent, have the hands underneath the shoulders. This will be the last thing I do. Pretty good for the shoulders, very good for the hamstrings. Is press through the hands and lift the hips off the floor. And as you press down through the hands, just kind of move the weight side to side. Just to adjust the wrists, the shoulders. And if you can, keep the hips up, but then you're going to move the hips forward in space. So you don't want to compromise bringing your hips down to take your hips more forward. So I'm moving it forward for a moment, and then I'm taking it back. The head, I have my head up. Your head could be back if you really wanted it back. Right? It doesn't have to be upright. And then I'm going to bring the hips down. Sit down. Again, this will be the last thing. Have the feet together and push the thighs apart. Drive the legs apart. Right? It's very neutral, or classic yoga position is cobbler's pose. Just push the legs apart, and then you can take the legs up and just wrap the arms around the knees. So again, just a short routine, pretty basic. If you notice any of the parts that you really like, you could rewind and just do them again. And it could also be something that maybe you only need that one stretch. Maybe you don't need the other things. Try to add a few different things so that you can pick up on more of what you actually need in your post-stretching workout. I hope it helped. Let me know how it goes. Like, subscribe, share it with your friends if it helps you. Thank you.